So in this case, what we're going to do is perform a front-loaded good morning. So let's cover a couple of things. For one, to be able to do the front-loaded good morning, you're going to have to be able to clean the weight into your front-loaded position. Now, you don't have to master the clean at this point. It's just more of a positional lift. So Jessica's going to grab on the handles. She's going to in the same deadlift position. So all I need her to do is think about jumping the weight up into the crooks of her arms. Okay? So Jessica, let's just get the weight up in that position. At this point, we're not really looking at this as an exercise. So as long as she did this safely, it may not be the most beautiful thing in the world, but we're just trying to get in position. Now, the front load position is super, super important. This changes weight distribution throughout the entire body. So you're gonna feel a lot more core activation, a lot more glute activation because of the leverage change. When you are in this position, this is our standing plank. The reason we call this front load, not zercher, not front squat, is it's not a zercher, which usually sits lower. It's not a front squat, which usually sits higher. It's right in that plank position. Come on down, Jessica. So a lot of people, what they're going to do is they're going to actually fatigue through their trunk first, or they're not going to be able to control their upper back, which shows you an inability to stabilize in some of the most important areas. So unlike other programs that just keep loading you and loading you, we're looking to see how you're able to maintain those connections over time and under different levels of stress. Just holding that position is very fatiguing. So take into account, if you're doing 10 deadlifts, you're not going to be able to do 10 front load good mornings with the same weight. If you want to keep the volume the same, you're going to have to probably drop weight. In that respect, I usually recommend you have a power and a strength available for your clients at minimum. All right? So Jessica, let's go ahead and re-clean. Give Jessica a little break there. Now, if we're going to parallel this to a front plank, that means she has to be active in the upper body. The biggest mistake a lot of people make in this position is, especially as they fatigue, they allow that arm to drop forward. So you see a lot of this. This has to be active. If she's pulling the weight in towards her chest, her shoulder blades are being pulled back. She's got great tension here. She's rock solid, okay? The minute her hands and elbows start to open, she's done with the exercise. So go ahead and relax for a second, Jessica. And you're gonna see everything round forward. So 9 times out of 10, with anything in the front load position, if you start to see a compensation come about, a bad movement pattern, go back to that upper body. It usually means they're starting to open up the angle here and they're losing what's happening here, all right? So the upper body is very, very active in this position. Now, if we get back in that, now we're ready for the good morning part. So she's gonna re-clean. Now, we're gonna slowly do 3 front load good mornings. Jess, she's gonna come back. She has a slight bend in her knee. She drives through her feet, which is very important to come nice and tall. So the thought process and the cueing is the same as the deadlift. Pushing through the heels, grabbing with the toes, trunk here nice and stable, stand nice and tall, come back down just and relax. The mistake that a lot of coaches make and a lot of people make is when they're in this position, they think to come up is through my back, all right? Because I feel some stress there, I feel like I have to leverage myself up. The cue is still pushing through the feet to get tall. The great thing about the front load good morning, if you are planning to do other exercises, such as let's say kettlebell swings, you're gonna wanna learn that position really well, okay? Where people have problems in things like kettlebell swings is the deceleration of weight, when they're swinging the weight back. And that has to do with that connection that we're teaching right here. So if you cannot perform this in a slow, controlled manner, you definitely can't do it in more dynamic ways with such as our clean snatches and other movements. Let's go back and do it again, Jess. So she's gonna power clean it back up. Now, the way I like to have people do this, similar to a deadlift, she's gonna come down and she's gonna pause for a 3 count. 1, 2, 3, through the feet. Okay, back down. Now, what you hear me cueing is very important. 3, 2, 1, feet. If I communicate feet, she's gonna remember her feet. Last one, just down, 3, 2, 1, feet. Good, and relax. What you say is very important. Make sure when you're cueing your clients, you don't use cues that are not meaningful to them, okay? You don't need to spit out a lot of extra information. You need to give very concise information so they know what you want, okay? So over time, it's very important to understand the important cues and the valuable cues of your clients. When Jessica, she was just going to pretend holding that position. A lot of your clients, remember, one of the things that we haven't talked about yet is when you feel unstable, the tendency of your body is to create stability. The number one way we create stability is through flexion. Okay, you can think simply the fetal position. Whenever we get startled or protect ourselves, stuff like that. Okay, so especially when we change to a more challenging position like the front load, when Jessica comes down, a lot of people don't know where to move from or they're not as proficient as maybe you want. Go and come back up. So if you haven't worked through the deadlift progressions and you just immediately jump to this, a lot of people actually initiate through rounding here and then try to get in the position. All right, they're trying to create that flexion. So you have to make sure that the tension is being held in the upper back. And that's what pulling the bag into your body and trying to pull it apart does. You can release your hands, that's fine. You don't have to hold on to the handles, but you need to create that tension to open yourself up. Let's see it again, Jess. We'll come down nice and slow. Hold, 3, 2, 1. Feet. We'll do one more time. Down, 3, 2, 1, feet, and relax. So you saw too that I touched her where I want her to move from. That's really important. When we use tactile feedback, our hands are touching, assuming it's appropriate for the situation that you're in, that's where people are going to move from. So if Jessica is rounding through her shoulders, I'm not going to say, Jessica, stop moving from here. I'm going to cue her from where I want her to move from. So keep that in mind. If you are using tactile feedback to give your clients input, make sure you're giving it in the appropriate spot. You're applying it to where they need to move from, not where you're trying to have them move less at. So the front load good morning is a really important drill. It sets a foundation for a lot of things. It's a really important drill for a lot more dynamic actions like our cleans and our snatches and so forth. If you can't get in this position and you can't hold it, and what holding it means, we'll work up to a 5-second pause. It's awesome because when you see people that 5-second pause, you see a lot of that shaking going on, right? That's showing you that they don't have good core integrity. Because let's do it one more time, Jess. You have to understand, according to work of legendary scientist Dr. Stuart McGill, core endurance is more of an indicator to low back health and core strength. So over time, come down, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, feet, and relax. I want to build up how she's holding that timeline retention because that's our plank again. Remember, 2 planks. Plank at the top, plank at the hinge. Okay, if she can't even hold that for 5 seconds, that means we still have core instability issues that we need to solve. Core, remember, is hamstrings and glutes just as much as it is your abdominal area. It's also your low back, your lats, and a lot of other musculature. All right, so the front load good morning is a super important lift. In a moment, we're going to teach you the next progression, which is changing body position into the series of the hip hinge.